One of my uncles, he was the only boy in my mother's household, 3 sisters, 1 boy. And stories are told of his mischievousness, shall we say. And his father was also a pastor like my father. He used to sit in the balcony of the church that my grandfather pastored in Albertville, Alabama. My grandfather was one that he would be preaching, and he would know that his son, Steve, was cutting up in the balcony. He would just kind of stop mid-sentence without raising an eye to the balcony. He would just say, "Stephen Ray," and all of a sudden whatever was happening in the balcony just ceased, and then he would pick back up in the sermon and move on. So I tell that story because Steve was into things. Steve is still to this day a very creative mind and a high energy guy. That doesn't make a lot of sense in his life when he's younger. It's a nuisance kind of, but when you find out God calls him to the mission field and he spends a lot of his life in Africa going to places in the bush that no other person has been able to access because he thinks of ways and just goes with God and does whatever God leads him to, it starts lining up and making sense. You start seeing that. So hey parents, if your kid is that kid who's high energy and like you don't know what to do with them, pray and just understand God may have something for that young person that you can't see yet that's going to make sense one day. They might be a handful now, but one day it's like, man, what a blessing that they are just this way with God. You just never know. Our lives make more sense when in line with God's purpose.